Welcome to Gray Areas for August 27th, 2024, episode 637. If you're a really regular fan, you might be like, wait, what happened to episode 636? And the answer is we did it on Saturday. It was a whole pizza tier list. If for some reason you missed it, go check it out. We did a bunch of things and we did them live. And Doug has already noticed the thing that is different about at least the start of this episode. It is amazing.
It's Dave Z.
About the pizza tier list, I also think there's some fun in that it was very behind the scenes. We had some technical issues, which I think is fun. Like it shows like we had to kind of scramble and how we work together to still make it happen. And I thought it was really cool.
We get to share a seat and a microphone.
We had
to be so close together.
Yeah, and we had to like pull the microphone away from each other.
And now we're separated again with this thing.
You know what? How dirty is my microphone? Did you notice that? I tried to clean it off. You didn't notice.
Why is it dirty?
You didn't even notice. Because I spit on it. Because I eat and I spit on it. But it's pretty clean.
Oh,
I'm looking at it now.
I never, ever fucking even thought about the fact that you're getting like
my cereal.
Yeah,
cement
all of his fucking
shit.
bullshit.
Spit a little bit on
And
it
he
right there.
spits when he eats, y'all. Just know that.
Apparently I spit a lot when I talk, too.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't spit on Cody, I don't think.
I didn't get hit by anything that I
Well, anyways,
recognized.
for
I
all
didn't
this
get sick.
spitting fun and more, tune into our pizza tier list. It was pretty good. We had some good takeaways. And
Yeah, to follow up, by the way, oregano's reheated in the oven so fucking well.
Yeah.
Oregano's cold is very good as well.
Yeah.
So,
I like cold pizza.
oregano's really rose up the list, except for the fact that Chris informed
Don't
me that
spoil it now. Go watch it and
it's
then
more
come
money.
back and write in the comments like, hey, I really think your pizza tier list sucked. And then we can talk about why you're wrong. It'll be great.
Sure.
Now, today's show is going to be a little bit different, if only because it's going to be kind of like if we were doing some kind of midday ESPN show, because we're going to have one correspondent here for the first part and a different correspondent for the second part. So we can decide which of these two people is like Adam Schefter and which of them is Pat McAfee. And Cody probably hates both those individuals.
Yeah. And for the second half, definitely stay tuned because I devised a whole new segment. It's called Please Do and Please Don't. And I'm you can probably guess what the format of that is going to be. And I'm going to launch into subjects, but I'm also going to tell which of the cast member is going to be interested in the thing that I'm saying.
I'm going to pretend I'm not interested, even if you think I am.
I don't know if I have any that you would be interested in.
There you go. See, he knew I didn't care already.
Because the one I was going to have was going to do with what we now just changed into the first segment, which is Challenge Season 40 just aired. For anybody who follows our show at all, they know we really love the challenge. All of us, every single one, especially Dave. And Season 40 is really exciting. It's a big milestone. And they brought together basically the entire cast since like Season 1 all the way till now, splitting them into eras. It's great seeing everybody together. It's killing it in the ratings. Everybody loves the challenge. And so we thought to make it more fun for us, we're going to do a draft. And we're going to give some rooting interest in the season. We're going to do a draft. We're going to assign our own points to our draft picks. And we're going to see like who wins and who is, by extension, the biggest challenge fan.
Are you going to elaborate on how the point system works, or are you just not?
Not really. Well, if it comes down to it,
Okay.
if you,
I'll throw one note in when somebody's roster comes up because of the impact that the first two episodes have already had on their roster.
We'll get to that on her picks.
There.
So we did a
On her
randomized
picks. Excuse me, spoiler.
we did a randomized draft, and we're just going to launch into it now. If you're like, I don't care about the challenge draft, still listen, because I think it's going to be interesting. The how we immediately start to break down our established rules that we had just agreed on like 5 minutes prior. It's interesting stuff.
Go back and look at the challenge tier list, and it will inform you about a lot of the names that we're going to reference on this from that past episode.
So Raya got the first randomizer on the
Yes.
pick. I thought about doing like who's the biggest fan, which would have been you, and letting you have the first pick.
Are you looking at me
No,
or
I'm looking at Cody because he's been there longer.
Fuck Cody.
I watched this when I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
Off and on.
You'd be maybe number two.
Let's see, I'm just curious. How did you discover the show?
I wasn't allowed to watch fun shows when I was a kid.
It sounds like that's not the issue, whether you're allowed to or not. But so Raya got the first pick, and with that pick, Cody took notes for everybody. But Raya chose.
Yeah, Raya, my fiance, just for off screen, who refuses to ever be on the show and will never show up to be able to actually explain this. She got randomized to the first pick and got the person who, when we did the challenge tier list, I declared the best person on the challenge ever. Just he's been in less seasons. Jordan.
He was the consensus number one.
Yes, and I think any of us that got the number one overall pick, we're gonna pick him.
Gonna pick him.
Boring. Yep. Ratu Raya took. Everyone expected it to. She's probably gonna win because he's gonna fucking win, as we all know. I got the second pick, and just, because it was funny, and also I wanted him, I took the person who Sean, in the moments right before, said, I really hope you don't
fucking did it on purpose. I asked him, Cody, please just don't chew. We talked about this. We came to an agreement. And then you're like, you know what? I am going to do that.
But he
chose bananas.
But he was number 2 on my big board, so I don't know what you want from me.
Number 2, well, okay.
Behind Jordan. He was
because
who I would default to pick. So, Sean threw a temper tantrum.
I did.
And said, I don't even want to play anymore. What am I even doing if I can't watch bananas and I can't cheer for him? What do I even want to do this for? I just won't even watch the season anyway now.
No. It wasn't that bad, but it was a little bit of a tantrum. Like, come on, you can't do that to me. So I introduced, just like any major sports league, a pick trading. And we did a pick swap. And it was really complicated.
It's actually like Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, where I traded this person, or I picked this person, and then traded him after having picked it.
Yeah.
Or NBA, I guess every NBA pick, since they all get the hat. So he got a Cody hat, and he immediately had to take the Cody hat off and put a Sean hat on. When he was
that's
drafted.
exactly what happened. He went over to your side, and they came. So I ended up getting like the second pick that time, but then you superseded me. So it was a snake draft, by the way, everybody. So the first person, and then the last person goes twice in a row, and then goes back. So
effectively, Sean got the second pick of the first round, and I got the second pick of the second, third, and fourth rounds because Sean had the third pick overall. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. So I took bananas, and then you got to choose immediately next, and you went with
I took Tori. I took the first woman off the board.
Yeah, we're doing 2 men and 2 women. Tori's a solid pick, and then Maisie, who was last. Which, even though it's a snake draft, I think is still the worst position. But she did what she could. She chose.
I chose CT, and then
which was a great pick
until we watched the first episode
because we figured CT's had some trouble staying in shape, but the last 2 seasons, and he went on another show. He's back in shape. He's a CT of old. He's not.
He's
anymore.
Divorced, dad bod.
He's sad dad bod.
I mean, he's a shape. It's round.
Yeah.
Although luckily he did do very well in the first challenge, so fingers crossed. But yeah, that was a bit disappointing to see when we first turned it on.
The scary thing with CT is he will sometimes win challenges like by himself, like for the entire team. And I don't know with the shape he's in if he's going to be doing that, but we'll see. So your next pick was.
So then I picked Cara Maria, because she is a very good.
Good analysis.
Yeah, great. That's really good.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And at least like she's not because she's just like anybody else. When she's horny, she fucking sucks.
That's
and
true.
Luckily, her pretty much husband is on this show, so there's no like, oh my god, I'm so excited to be in this relationship. It's just like, this is boring, old hat.
Yeah.
So
hopefully she'll be focused now.
Should be focused.
Although she was in elimination. All your people were in elimination. Spoilers in the first episode.
Except for CT.
Except for CT. So then Cody went again. So who's your next
Then it
pick?
was Cody.
You went
We have
next.
10 minutes. Oh, I go again? Who did I go with?
You're right.
No,
I
went. You went.
You idiot.
Yeah.
So then I took Rachel, which again we in the most recent season most recent season that we watched, not most recent season that was filmed. Which, oops, I definitely forgot that while I was drafting.
Yep.
Older vet from the first era, was really really good years and years and years ago. Is quite old now, but also is in possibly better shape than all but like 2 or 3 people of the fucking show. Basically, I think other than
she's amazing.
The person I think took the person
She's like a health instructor.
Yeah.
And like you can see it. She's great.
The only other person who I would challenge that is for the women is in better shape than her is your next pick.
Jenny. Yeah, I took Jenny because she's only been on like 2 seasons. But the season that I watched that she won, she not only finished first. If there was only one winner that season, man or woman, she would have won the whole thing. And she just fucking dominated. She was in elimination at least once and like crushed the other person. I felt bad. So
Total Madness only had one. I thought Total Madness had a man and a woman win. But she got credit for the win.
It did. But I'm saying, had there only been one winner, it would have been her. She finished number 1
yes,
first.
you're saying that she beat, but you. Yeah. I mean, so basically, you, funny enough, took both people from your favorite season.
From my favorite season.
You took the 2 winners from your favorite season. That I'm realizing as you explained that.
Yeah.
So.
She also was at least my first exposure to lip injections, so that was very terrifying.
Yeah, it is. But she's buff.
With the fakest tits, anyone, and fakest tits, fakest lips, probably fakest jawline.
It seemed interesting.
We were unsure.
There was a lot to take in from those first 2 episodes as 40 human beings
Yeah.
were on them in a show that normally has 24.
Human
so,
beings.
But
you
we
mean
don't,
plastic
we don't
beings.
judge. We're only pointing it out. Cody,
that's
what
true,
was Raya's
sorry.
number 1?
So Raya on the end of the round 2 took Horacio, I believe, and then the start of round 3 took Laurel. Raya,
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm marrying her. Horrible
Yeah.
woman to have drafted the most horrible woman who's ever graced the chat. Well,
But
maybe
she's
not
so
most horrible,
good.
almost worst human being that's been on the channel.
So she took Horacio, which was a bit of a dark horse, although he's very capable physically.
Yes.
His political game is kind of
Terrible.
bad
And then it
because
peaked-
he doesn't talk.
It peaked and looked really good because we realized he's in a relationship and has a new ally on the show.
Yeah, we'll
who
get to that.
We'll get to what happened to Horacio's help.
So in Laurel, she took. And now there's somebody who did blackface on the show. And I think Laurel is by far like the most scummy person on the entire show. And I used to like Laurel, and I think she's the scum of the earth. I really hate her.
You should go on her Twitter account as she just tweets through episodes basically saying, I don't care what people think of me.
So cool. Definitely, I think what someone who actually doesn't care would tweet nonstop.
To the public as the show is
I
happening
believe
live.
that. I
Exactly.
believe she doesn't care at all. You can tell by how adamant she is on Twitter. Okay, so then
Then that flipped back to me.
You
I took
again.
Kylan, another very, very good player from the second most recent season that we've seen, and actually the literal most recently filmed season. I took again another younger person like Horacio that were on the upswing a little bit and doing
a
this.
little bit sort of a
Also-
dark horse too, but I was very
Sean's other pick.
I would have taken him. So Cody did this to me twice. He took both of
Uh-huh.
my picks. I couldn't do another pick swap or I would have like basically
No, it
get
would be
that-
impossible. You have to just give me one of your people, and
literally
I
I
would
would
have 5,
have been
and
like
you would have
just
3.
you have an extra person.
I just get your 4th
But
round.
I was impressed by Kylan's gameplay and like physically he's great, but he thinks about it, he studies. I think it's a good pick.
And part of my strategy here was to get someone, because we didn't know the rules of how this was going to work. I specifically drafted someone from each era
Yeah.
to make sure, because we weren't sure going in if it was going to be like era 1 gets 1 woman and 1 man, era 2 into the finals,
Yeah.
because normally the finals are 8 people. They have set this up to where there's a very easy 8 people to go in. I don't think that's how the premise is going to go based on what we saw from the I guess teasers from the end of this first episode,
Yeah.
whatever it was. But we didn't know that at the time because we went in this blind. We wanted to not have watched it yet.
Yep.
So we would just make judgments based off of the past and what we know about the show and nothing else going
That's why I
forward.
did the draft off air because we had to do it before we watched it.
Exactly. And we lost a chance to do that last week.
I took Devin next.
You're correct. The other person who I was picking between with Kylan, and I decided to go with someone who was in better shape.
I love Devin.
Honestly, that was really came down to.
He was great in that season. I feel like the one he won, we learned later that he really kind of lucked out. But
Because a pair were like 25 minutes ahead and fucked it.
yeah,
Your other
yeah,
pick,
exactly.
actually.
So I think Devin, but I love him. I think he's gonna be fun. He's gonna be a good guy to root for because unless he's eliminated quick. But I liked it. And then Maisie, you went with
My last 2 picks. So my second guy, because all of the other guy options were taken, I went with Derek Kaczynski. There's 2 Dereks.
Mhm.
And this kid is from
Old man.
he's a kid. He's cute. He's tiny.
early episodes.
He's from like the first era, so he's old, but he's always like super intense and is really, really like scrappy.
Lot
I
of
think
heart,
that
yeah.
people like to say. So I love him. And then my last female pick was Nerys.
Who already was eliminated.
Yes.
So
Nerys, Horacio's new girlfriend, as was being developed on season 39 that we
Yeah.
recently watched.
great pick actually. She
Yeah.
really she has a lot of strengths and maybe weak in one area, and unfortunately that was what this elimination focused on and only that.
Oh.
So she ran into a buzzsaw basically of just she weighed a lot less than the person she went against in a
It was
headbanger.
very physical.
And she lost to her nemesis, which is too bad because I hate Olivia. But
Olivia's
so
a piece of
Maisie got to choose again, but
for half points.
for half points if this person wins. So this is where it starts to come into play.
Yeah.
And you went
So
with Casey.
my replace. Shut the fuck up! Oh my god.
Sorry.
Let me talk.
We have 4
Oh.
minutes.
Okay. Anyway, I picked
Almost done.
Casey because she's also a very like strong competitor and is usually pretty good with the political stuff.
Mhm.
But I feel like she sometimes relies on her big brother ties, which luckily and not luckily Josh is on this season. So be that.
We don't talk about
Yeah.
Josh.
Yeah, we hate Josh. He's already like strategizing, and we're like,
fucking
dude, it's episode
stupid.
fucking 1. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, go away, man.
And then also,
Well,
no, it's me.
No, it's me.
No, it
You're
is
right.
you. That's right.
So it's me. I took the better of the Derricks, which shocked Sean
Yes.
and made him immediately accuse me of cheating.
Yes.
Amazingly
yes.
enough, a man who, again,
I
in the All-Stars show we
That's
watched,
really
was in
good.
the final.
Mhm.
Also, as Sean started to realize, there were no better men left. Actually, if you take a look at our board, other than Leroy, who I've mocked
You hate him.
mercilessly
You
on
hate
this,
him.
on our tier list, and said the motherfucker's going to get knocked out by episode 4. He beat me to it.
Yeah.
He got knocked out in episode 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, in hindsight here, as I was contemplating, is that really the right call, as Sean second-guessed me? And,
Yeah.
and again, almost all of my pick on that was based off of one challenge in All-Stars 4 with a bunch of old people, as the guy who clearly has cross-trained and run and used to be a cross-country runner
Mhm.
was running circles around everybody
Yeah.
else on the entire
I think I
thing.
accused
That was
collusion,
very
which
good.
like doesn't make sense. Or he were colluding with
Yeah.
somebody. I
Yeah.
don't know, but
And
maybe.
again, he lands in the last era I had left, and I needed a man because we, again,
Yeah.
required to take 2 men, 2 women. So really, I ended up being like, there was actually no choice.
Oh,
when
I said
kinda panicked.
insider trading, and you were Martha
Yes.
Stewart. But when we went back over it, you had a pretty good point. Like, there's
Oh,
not
yeah.
a lot of strong men
I
anymore.
did sort of panic pick it. Like, honestly, I
Yeah.
did when I looked at my list of names of men who I would want to have on my team. And it was between him and I can't even remember who else it was now in hindsight. But I rushed into that pick. It was good enough because it worked out.
And my last woman was I forget.
Michelle.
Michelle.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Michelle, because
so-
Jay's not on this season, so she'll be good.
I was very impressed with Michelle after thinking she was terrible, and she blew a lot of positions of power in, which is actually not a great sentence, but she fucked it up early on. But then I thought last season she did really good. I was very impressed with her political game, and I'm thinking if she at all can do the physical challenges, she's going to be kind of a dark horse pick. But
She's
I
also
like
actually,
Michelle.
she's honestly actually pretty strong. As
Well, she
crappy
won
as-
Survivor. That was
yeah,
the other
exactly.
thing.
As crappy as she was and the way they ran Battle for New Champion in season 39, I also don't blame her in hindsight of the way she ran that show.
Yeah.
Someone had to step up and just take over, and every other woman basically chose to not, and she said, I will.
Yeah.
And there was 2 other women that tried to, and Michelle convinced a lot of women to get brainwashed to come over to her side. So she won.
Exactly. So Cody, you have 1 minute for you
And
and,
then
Raya.
Well, I already told you.
Oh, you
my
already.
last pick.
Oh, so Raya. Oh,
Yeah.
great. We're gonna be
Raya's
fine.
last pick is the one person who I don't know shit about because Aviv has been on, I believe,
Oh,
literally
yeah.
one season. Raya, also in a similar position, really didn't know what else to go with because we had really cleared out. And I think realistically, there's like 5 women that are going to win, that could win this show, and we had to draft 8 total.
She seems cool though. She seems very
Mhm.
grounded and down to earth.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
it looked pretty decent, no matter whether she's gonna survive or not, politically or not. But she's like actually maybe the one normal human being they dropped into a house of 39 batshit insane
Yeah,
people.
and she brings that perspective. And she's
Yeah.
like, I don't know what everybody's talking about.
And the,
Yeah.
again, the funny part is again because everyone on this show is either past champion, been on multiple seasons, etc. She's been on one season and won it, and it was a long time ago. For the most part, I think a long time ago is relative, but it was a while ago. And so she's just dropped into this world where all these people know each other in different eras, and it's all bled together. And she hardly knows anybody, has no political connections, but everyone, normally that's bad, right, with 24 people, because you're the odd man out, so they start going for you first. Too many people fucking hate other people
Yeah.
right now to start
Yeah.
the 40-person show, which is evidenced by the 8 eliminations we got in the second episode, which was one of the coolest episodes of the challenge ever,
Yeah.
just having
Very
8
cool.
eliminations.
All eliminations, the whole episode. So it's been
And they
very
were
fun.
classic eliminations.
Yes.
too,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Hall
the good.
Brawl and all of the like
The
really dangerous
headbangers,
shit.
which we love. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been really good. If you're interested at all, I don't even think it's a bad time to jump in because it's kind of like a retrospective of the show. So check it out
So
for
good.
sure. And that's our draft. We'll keep you updated occasionally throughout the season.
Yay!
And there's Dave.
And
All right,
Dave's
goodbye.
here. We went 1 minute over, but Dave's 1 minute behind, which means Dave is right on time.
Perfect.
That's right.
So are we live still, or did we pause?
We're live still.
We're live
Why on
still.
earth
Okay.
would I pause? How would I pause a live show?
Because
Well,
Sean
you
thinks that
said
you can
you
just
were going to
pause.
pause. So
no, I
said-
didn't.
No,
I said
he-
I wasn't going
No,
to
he
pause.
specifically said he wasn't going to pause. Point being,
Oh.
Don't fucking. What the fuck?
For the
At least
last little
Cody's
bit of
here, so I'm not
context-
getting gaslit.
I misheard
was gonna say,
downstairs.
who's
Fucking
gaslighting?
Whoa, that was creepy.
Christ almighty.
There's Dave.
Who's
Jesus.
gaslighting Chris?
for the one last little bit of context, the point of that is that I guess whoever's here will be coming over to watch the show every Thursday or
Yeah.
as many Thursdays as we possibly can, which is why we wanted to have this little fun we all get 4 people and keep it goofy and competitive or whatever, and some fun because we're going to watch them all together, which we haven't been able to do distinctly with this type of show yet. We've watched them on vacation. We've binge watched episodes.
Yeah.
We watched a bunch or whatever, but this season is so fun and is so unique to what this show has done. That is why we've done this. And so then again, ultimately, Sean or myself, because one of us is going to win, can ultimately talk lots of shit.
Yep.
You have to have a rooting interest. We even do that with Great British Bake Off, which is not a competitive show.
Yeah.
It's a competition. Somebody wins. But obviously the spirit there is very different. But we had a lot more fun just picking people, even though it was just one, just so you had somebody to kind of stick with. Because obviously you're still going to have your favorites. Like, I don't think Sean's going to root against CT just because he doesn't have him. Like, he's going to root more for his people, but he's not going to be like, fuck you, CT.
Now, in the big picture, because we all established we believe Jordan's going to win for the mid. At least Rye got Jordan of all people, and Rye's probably the nicest one of the 4 of us. So at least the nice person can just get the 4 points for winning with Jordan, and that's the whole point. It's tiered, so the ultimate if someone wins with one of their people that doesn't get a finalist of the other 3, they're not going to win out of the group, because I think at least most of us should probably get at least 2 or 3 people in the finals.
Yeah.
I think.
Yep. Great.
So we'll see how it breaks down at the end.
So Dave, we're not pausing, which I was excoriated for moments before you.
You were
in the moment.
He asked like Chris was the bigger problem. It wasn't that you tried to just take a stab at something. You tried to convince Chris that he was wrong.
Well, that's just it.
Said,
he's supposed to do that to you.
I thought we were.
He's supposed to do that to you, not to me. We're not allowing that to me.
Oh, and it doesn't work on me, so I don't know who he's going to try next.
It kind of does, though, is the thing. We'll have to talk about that in a later episode because you fall for it every time. It's uncanny.
Never ask for clarification on anything is what I've learned. So, Dave, did you miss the intro where I talked about the segment that I'm doing?
Yeah. I missed that part, yes.
Okay.
Apologies.
So, again, it's please do and please don't. So, what I'm going to do is it's a very complicated setup, but try to keep up with it. I think by the end, maybe you'll figure it out.
Unfortunately, you're stupid, and you're going to have to kind of... We'll slow it down for you, Dave.
Yeah, but
just for me, because I'm really dumb.
Yeah,
but I'm also going to say who it interests before I do it. So this one interests, I think most of all, probably Doug. So no one on the show. But so I borrowed the PlayStation VR. This maybe sort of interests Dave, who kind of is interested in technology. Overall, I borrowed Doug's PlayStation VR, which is supposed to be the VR 2, which is borderline the best VR experience you can get on the market for the money and all things considered. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is going to be my final review. I've not been impressed with VR so far. And the verdict, as you can tell from my please don't buy VR, we're not there yet. It just is not there yet. So the PlayStation VR looks really nice, but it is cabled into the PlayStation. So
that's a downside.
It is.
That's a huge downside.
And not only can you not really move as well, obviously, because there's a fucking cable there. I have a really weird thing where if I feel a cable like on my neck from like headphones, it bothers the hell out of me, and I'm always fidgeting with it. Mm-hmm. And it's terrible. Also, this thing was so uncomfortable. I either had it to where I had to have it tight and my face goes numb, or I have it a little bit loose and it weighs down on the bridge of my nose. And it's just awful. And so I could only play for like an hour before I had to take it off and like take a break. I was like sweating a lot because it's right there on the face. Yeah, we might need a whole helmet to latch it onto, Doug. But then the overheating thing happens. It just felt like we're not there yet. It was the overall thing. The game was really fun. I did dual wielding in Resident Evil and having like each gun really truly mapped to each hand and each pull of the trigger. It was cool. It was really fun. But when I was done with it, I was kind of like, thank God. Thank God I'm done. I'm going to return this to Doug. Again, thank you so much. But between the cost and the comfort and everything else, plus, Dave, they're not supporting it anymore. They've released a add-on to where you can use it on the PC, but it works. It's spotty, and the controllers don't work, and the eye tracking I don't think works. So it's like you can do it. You're gonna pay PlayStation even more money for maybe like 3/4 of the experience. And it's just like, God, way to reward your early adopters.
Well, I mean, you kind of take a chance when you're taking something new on like that. I'm curious what you would think of the MetaQuest 3 That's the one I have at my house. So next time you're over, you have to try that to see. The problem is that I've seen, and I like your example of Resident Evil with the dual wielding of guns. It's pretty cool. The problem I've seen is that what I gain from the immersive environment does not overcome the awkwardness feeling of wearing the headset. And when if that can happen, I think the way they portrayed the Oasis in Ready Player One in the movie, if it was like that, where it's just like a quick little set of goggles that's very light on your eyes, I could imagine it taking off because it's a very light thing. But the way it is now, when it's bulky, it's just not gonna. I don't think it's gonna take off because even though you have like the augmented reality part of it, it's still just not there where you can just like, it feels like nothing on your eyes.
Yeah, and I think this is it's maybe personal preference, but the Switch kind of showed, we actually don't mind if graphics are a little bit worse because of the convenience, and I can play it on my couch and whatever. And I feel like as gamers get older, overall, that convenience really matters. And so this idea that you have a headset where you're isolated from your family, you look kind of stupid, you need a clear space dedicated to do it. It's like this, it's just too much.
Yep. It would be great by yourself. But again, when you're talking about graphics and stuff like that too, the margin is so thin of what makes a huge difference in graphics nowadays. So I think there's a study we said a long time ago that people couldn't tell the difference between like Toy Story 1 and like PlayStation 3 graphics or something,
like
which
a gulf.
like was it was like a huge gap in between that, but some people couldn't tell the difference, which blew my mind. But like when it's that we can't tell the difference there, it's like, okay, so why do we care about the next inch of better graphics at that point? Or resolution. So
I'm waiting for Cody to chime in on.
I've tried this and I don't like it.
Okay.
I thought we
have you
talked
tried
about it on
with
a
the
past
sports
episode.
game? What if EA the college
football? I will
football?
really hate that. So funny enough, if you go back a lot of years now, mid 2000s, there was actually a rival NFL game to Madden. I don't think anyone remembers this as ESPN. ESPN had its own game.
Oh, it was the best.
When you were the quarterback, you know where your fucking view was? Inside the fucking helmet. No.
You know, it's hard to play that.
You know, it was not fun to play that. I'm never going to be an NFL quarterback. I don't need to actually understand the experience of what it's like to be an NFL quarterback. I'm good.
It did at least give people that understanding. I don't know if it was fun, but at least you could have people be like, oh, when I'm on my couch and I fucking slam whoever, like Matt Leinart, I'm trying to pick like a mid-2000s quarterback. Like Matt Leinart he's fucking terrible. He can't do anything. Well, no, it's actually really hard because you have 3.5 seconds before you got a 300-pound defensive lineman breathing down your neck, so you better figure out your cone of vision. It
might work in FIFA, might not be bad. So some of the games where when you are the single player, like of the career mode or whatever, maybe 2K wouldn't be bad, maybe FIFA wouldn't be bad because you're already ISO cammed on that player now anyway, which is something new that we've gotten used to compared to back in the old day when it was the all 22 version for football and the broadcast angles. But also, I think I said this too. I played the Creed boxing game that was on the original PlayStation VR. That was kind of fun, except for it tricked me into working out. I got really sweaty inside the helmet, which then started slipping and dripping sweat into my eyes because I was trying to punch and beat the shit out of a computer. It was not very fun. I would rather be a fat ass, sit back on my couch, and lean forward when the game gets good.
This is a tangent, but when I wore a football helmet only once, and I found the bars to be like completely untenable. I don't know how they. I don't know how they do it.
I don't know which one you got, but there's also like 500 different versions of a face mask. I'm no lie, no exaggeration. That was the one piece of my equipment I was incredibly particular about, and to this day, there is a specific type of face mask that I like, and I put it on every fucking player I create in every video game because it was the one that had the best view and also made me feel like my eyes were going to get poked out.
Yeah. Is it a visor?
I never had a visor.
Okay. I would probably like that more. But
I put one on one time, and I did not like because it gets steamed up, so when it's clear, it's hard to look through. When it's tinted, it just is. It's like weird to kind of view. I played a lot of games at night, so you don't even want a tinted one. There's just reason after reason after reason why I never really liked it. So I had very specific bars off to the side here, so stuff couldn't come at me from the angle I wasn't seeing and hit me and go through my face mask. But I kept my straight ahead vision clear.
Yeah.
It's very particular. But yes, again, that was a weird thing in the old ESPN game is the quarterback face mask was, I want to say when I had one, it was a little weirder and it was like kind of clouded the vision. And I'm like, I can't fucking see who's downfield. I don't even know where the fuck he is downfield.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Because the only VR stuff I liked was goofy shit, and it's not worth the money to play a goofy game.
Exactly. Yep.
Beat Saber. That's like I love Beat Saber, but it's not worth the money.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
It's so much like going to the arcade and having that immersive type of goofy arcade thing. I'm like, fine, I'll put $2 in to play this temporarily right now for 10 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever it is. I'd rather do that. I'd rather they advance VR in that way than the at-home version because, again, I thought the goofy little futuristic bot thing where I was an office worker in a convenience store, I thought that was a fun, goofy way of doing VR stuff. But I'm like, why am I paying a couple $100 for this game?
And as we talked about, Golfland has that.
Yeah.
Specifically Beat Saber and a couple other VR games that were broken, so we didn't have a chance to try them. But like, if you want to take that small step, you can do that. So now, even if it's just when I go down to Phoenix, I have a way to scratch the itch where I don't have to pay up front. It's kind of like when they put the Guitar Hero arcade games in.
Yeah.
Yes.
I own all the Rock Band instruments still. I'm lucky enough to have a full set that works, but most people are not going to jump into that game now.
Yeah.
Even if you just want one guitar that's going to run you $150, they're going to be like, no. But you can play it in the arcade for like $5, and that's fine.
The interesting thing with VR, though, is it feels like the tool aspect of it is where the advancement is going to come and not the game aspect. Because I've heard of NFL players who have trained with VR because they have filmed like the field and it looks so realistic at this point that they can tune it that you can actually get a relatively good view as a quarterback or a running back or something like that to practice that way.
They do it in
and
racing.
So if yeah, I mean, I've seen companies like office companies that have started training with VR so that you're sitting in front of a person and speaking and having the computer system speak back to you. Then you can flip it and see yourself speaking and you hear what you say. And it's like a super cool, like, okay, this is a really good training method because you get to hear and see how you're acting as a person. And so there's applications for it, just maybe not in the gaming industry.
And Dave, I know like this is kind of pushing the segment along, but I was just curious. So you have the Meta 3, it came with that game that a lot of people have said is like the killer app of VR gaming, and it's like the best VR game ever. Have you played it, and what was your impression?
I believe it was the World of Warcraft one, right?
No, it was a sequel to Azura's Wrath 2 or something along those lines.
It was. I can't remember exactly what it was called.
If you have not played it yet, report to me when you do.
Asgard's Wrath. I have played a little bit of it, like a tiny little bit of it. And it's fun. I think I could get into it. But it's just one of these, like, the time it takes to really to set it up, to put it on, to then if I want to play for a while, and then if kids or wife or anybody needs me for anything, I'm like, what I gotta take the thing off, look over, like, it's just so it removes the immersion. So you need a dedicated space, like you mentioned, for it. And I think I could enjoy that game if I had the dedicated space, but I don't, so I won't really. You know what I mean?
Well, Dave will report back in 2027.
No, not the 2020s. No, my youngest will be out of the house by 2040 probably. Okay. So
giving
around
you,
then.
affording you finally all the time you need for VR gaming. Okay, so this is a weird one. I actually think it'll interest everybody, so that's good. It's another even though I'm doing now 2 please don'ts in a row, but please don't, for the love of God, read IGN anymore. Don't support them
anymore. And get rid of them.
Yeah.
What do they do?
So
canceled?
well, this is just the latest crime that IGN has done, but this is kind of a long story. So there's a writer on rock, paper. Fuck, I forgot the last part of it.
Scissors?
No, it's a gaming website. Rock, paper, samurai. Something weird on the last one. And there's a really funny. I look up this writer just because I think she's amazing. Like, I don't even care about the website. I just like the articles she writes, whether it's like a preview or some sort of industry opinion piece. She's just so funny, and it has such a good voice. I found out IGN purchased a bunch of these article sites and immediately went and laid off like most of the staff. And they do this because they don't care about quality writing. They just care about like SEO. And if they buy all these sites and then basically fire everybody and just like use them for spare parts, but they have the number one article for SEO across like all these different sites. Like that's all they care about. So it kind of touches on a larger issue, which is AI comes into it, where everybody's writing Cody for AI now for the auto like sort of Google search response for AI.
Yes,
but what that does now
literally worked doing that
is you only read that. You don't have to go to the site anymore.
Yes.
It pulls it right up.
It steals everything.
So you have to write good content to get pulled up here. But if you do write good content, you're not even getting clicks for it.
Yes.
If you write bad content, like to be like, well, I don't like that, you're just not showing up at all.
Yes.
So it's like, what's the incentive anymore? How do these like smaller journalism sites that are news-based and not just like engagement-based, how do they stay alive?
They die.
And the answer is they don't.
die.
No, subscription. Well, no, or subscriptions, or people finally understand like what they realized back in the early 1900s with newspapers is that when the newspaper boy's screaming extra and had a fake article that he's screaming about, people got sick of it. So you subscribe to something that you trust. And problem is our entire internet culture is based on no subscriptions, don't pay for it. And so you're going to get this bullshit until you decide to subscribe to things.
Yeah.
It's just how, that's the answer if people do it.
I mean, it is, but like for a lot of these smaller sites, you kind of touched on this already, but they don't have that option because they're like, we know if we do, we're dead. Like that, you might as well put the nail in the coffin at that point. We wouldn't get the readership, even though it's sort of a chicken and egg thing. I think you're right. That is how they would stay afloat, but they don't dare do it. And so we get all these people just writing for AI in this environment that like Google created where it doesn't really matter the quality. It's just you're writing to show up, and it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a big problem, especially as AI progresses, and then they don't even try to have writers anymore. You just basically say, hey, ChatGPT, write about this, post. Mm-hmm. Write 15 articles today. 50 articles, go.
But the problem that they're facing, which we've talked about a little bit on the show before, since I'm sort of in the middle of this, is that AI is doing a decent, although still flawed, job of aggregating information that already exists. It cannot and is so far away from making up information itself.
Right. Yeah.
And the problem that we see with it a lot is that it's having a hard time even aggregating among the information that is out there. But the reason why, I think 2 years ago I started to, as ChatGPT really took off, my thought was like, oh man, like what does this mean long term? Long term now means a decade out, because even now, I was looking at a thread today on Twitter where it was exchanged with ChatGPT where it said, how many R's are in the word strawberry?
I saw that one.
And ChatGPT was like, there are 2 R's in the word strawberry. And it had a back and forth, and it was like, so it's like, are you sure that's incorrect? And ChatGPT was like, oh, I'm sorry, you're right. There are 3 in the word strawberry. Why did you give me a wrong answer? Oh, because this type of factor. How many R's are in the word raspberry? There are 2 R's in the word raspberry.
Yeah.
So one stupid and silly example, but like the point being, you can't replace the people who are actually covering things. The problem is if journalism doesn't exist long enough to see that through before AI already pushes it out the door, it might be a moot point.
Well, and yeah, so Chris, thank you. That was the other part of it is you're doing all this stuff now. You're right. You're putting all this care into work that you're not going to get clicks for, and that the AI is going to pull up wrong half the time anyway. So that's a big ask. And what you're getting is a lot of people who now, rather than reporting the news, it's people on TikTok who are telling you the interesting story, which is. Obviously, there's so many problems with that level of like, here's what journalism is these days. It's a personality feeding us information. And is it correct? Are they editorializing to make it interesting? Like there are all these issues with it, but that's where we're rapidly heading. And
they're often not sourcing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, to Dave's point, he's right. The way that you save journalism is by paying for journalism you value. But to Sean's original point, one of the things that Facebook is currently doing is putting AI summaries on news sites. And I guarantee you, none of those journalism organizations, newspapers, radio, whatever, have asked for that feature one fucking bit. Because now what you've done is even if you have a system with a dedicated readership that is supporting you financially, the summaries undermine it. Yeah. Because they just give away the crux of the article for free. So now if you try to sidestep the AI, sometimes you run headlong into AI anyways.
Yeah.
And the oversight is the concern when it comes to that type of thing. So even if you're not getting the subscribership, or even if you are getting the subscribership, I guess, then the people who are reading the summary, okay, did you actually summarize this properly? Did you miss a key component of that? Like your whole thing with the strawberry and raspberry thing. It's like in that interchange, they asked, "Hey, how many R's are in Marionberry?" or another word, and he got it right. The ChatGPT got it right, and then he said, "No, you're wrong." And he said, "Oh no, you're right. It was 2, not 3."
Yeah.
And it's like, well, wait, why did you correct it just because I told you to? This
Yeah.
is wrong.
Yeah.
There's a lot left to go,
I guess
basically.
having worked in training, Google's one specifically for a decent amount of time, I mostly just got paid to watch it fail, explain in extreme detail the ways it kept failing, and then basically say, this is never actually going to work the way you think it should work right now.
So, Cody, I was getting ready for a hot take of like, are we ever going to get, and this is super naive, and in 10 years when we're still doing the podcast and, it's advanced and it's great, then I'll look real foolish.
Or the AI version of us are doing it. That would probably be more.
Right, and then that's really insult to injury there. Are we ever going to get, because we brought this up before, but it's the thing with self-driving cars where like, right now, depending on what you need it for, ChatGPT is like, it's good enough. It'll give you sort of
it can kind of, I mean, there's certain ways where it like quickens, like, I mean, it's the same. She's like, hey, Alexa, like, tell me a recipe for what. I'm like, we already were doing this shit. And they're just bragging about the fact that like the thing it can do, it's been doing for like 10 years. It's not,
Yeah.
it's like, it's just quickening a Google search for you or whatever search.
Got more data to pull from now.
And it's like, okay, cool. Like this is great. I'm like, why do anyone needs to have a conversation with these fucking things? I don't know. You need help, honestly.
And,
like if you go in
and
there.
I don't know enough about it, but I'm almost concerned more about that because the Google algorithm did a pretty good job of like it is pulling from reliable resources that are all like human based.
Yes.
And this is just like pulling from this expanse of information that may or may not be accurate.
I would ask the fucking thing, hey, give me a quick recap of like what the score of the Dodger D-backs game was from 2 days ago. Like gave the specific date, May 10th, 2024. And it created a game that was not even a real game. It merged things together. It told me player hit a home run who's not on the team and hasn't been on the team for 4 years. I'm like, I gave you the date, the teams, and ask for the result. Which again, if I say, hey Alexa, tell me the score of the Dodger D-backs game from last night, Alexa will go, hi Cody, it was 10-8 and the Dodgers won. Cool, that's all I needed to know. Like that was already there. The fact that it's trying to write an actual like 300-word recap, like AP style, like brief, and it's just pulling shit from everyone. I'm like, there's something catastrophically wrong in what I was having it do over and over again in my specialty with sports related stuff. But there were ways where it could actually be helpful for databasing like history type shit where I'm like, hey, who are the top 5 home run hitters of all time? Well, it just went to Baseball Reference and pulled the fucking top 5 list that again, I could have done in 30 seconds more of time. It wasn't that hard to do. So I don't know what it's quickening up from that standpoint of helping us in that way. And if it can't get how to spell strawberry right, do you trust it with your fucking life to run a bunch of this shit?
Or the other famous meme, what countries start with the letter K? There are no countries that start with the letter K. And you're like, Kenya? Kazakhstan?
Yeah.
Kosovo?
What do you mean there's none?
Yeah.
That's just demonstrably false. I think the most dangerous part about this, by the way, is not what like predictive text is going to do or just text-based responses in general. It's what it's doing with images and video. Because that is becoming a lot more difficult to discern real from fake at a pace that I'm not, quite frankly, very comfortable with.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
and also voice, by the way, same idea. Where now you've got a Donald Trump AI voice and a Biden and a whomever. Like pick famous celebrity, historical figure, whatever. And now you're like, okay, but if you use that to like seem like somebody said something they didn't, and it's difficult to trace back where the origins were. Now we've opened a door that's going to be really difficult to close.
Yep.
Yeah, and then that affects how people act in their, potentially their voting, potentially in their money decisions. It really could affect how people's attitudes and behaviors are, which is dangerous because you do have to be very careful when you see an AI image. Like there's telltale signs for now, but they're not evidently, they're not apparent. You do have to look at it a little bit to really figure it out.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, the amount of images I've seen online that I'm not an expert. Like graphic designers are very, very good at it. They'll spot it right away. But a lot of time I'll be like, yeah, this doesn't look right. This looks pretty fake, or there's an extra finger. And the amount of people online that are like, holy shit, I can't believe this happened. like, wow, I'm so mind blown. It's like, guys, like, no. So
It
you know,
didn't.
it's fighting the
Well,
mind virus like usual.
right. It's basically part of a greater conversation about media and overall literacy.
Yeah.
And the decline of it in the country over the last, 8 years in particular.
Yeah, and I agree with Jason's comment of it is important we treat it as a novelty for now, and
Yeah,
it is a tool that can
exactly.
speed up some things for sure.
There are benefits.
Yeah, but rather than like it is a brain.
I mean, I think like Amazon's Echo stuff of being able to have Alexa do this or that, like on command of stuff, is helpful. I'm not gonna say that that's not helpful, but it's like that's because they did it correctly and they didn't overreach to some crazy, insane aspiration.
But to your point, the amount of times I scream at my Alexa to shut
Yeah.
the fuck
up because it's talking
is like
again,
a lot.
I have the Echo Auto, so I have an Echo in my car that runs my Bluetooth and does things like that. It's honestly very helpful.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
It's hands free while I'm in my car and say, "Hey, play this off of whatever thing," and it does it pretty damn well.
Yeah. Okay, so I had a transition about how movies portray sci-fi, but I'm just going to jump into it. Please do. This is two things, Dave, and they're both for you, kind of. So the first one is play God of War Valhalla. So first of all, play God of War Ragnarok. Okay, just the sequel, right? But I want to give some attention to a completely free update. I don't know why Santa Monica Studios did this. They just made an epilogue to the game that is its own roguelike game. And it's really, really, really good. And there's a ton of story. And it's like therapy for Kratos. And it's fully fleshed out game mode with like all this unique stuff. And they just added it on. They're like, hey, you can go play this now. And it's incredible. I enjoyed some of the roguelike epilogue than I did even main parts of the game.
It's an add-on to Ragnarok, right?
Yeah, it's like when you have Ragnarok, you just download this DLC. When I let you borrow it, it's free, so you'll just be able to download it. And it's insane. And I look at like I don't know, fucking 2K, where they're like, "Oh, you want those like sunglasses? That'll be $50." And you're like, "What the fuck?" So it's very cool.
Mm-hmm. It's, I mean, yes, I've been wanting to play that, and it'll happen eventually. You know, I've got a ton of stuff on the list right now that I definitely want to play. But yeah, the difference in how companies make money and what they're willing to offer when it feels like you should be okay paying for it. Like DLC where I get to play another level of a game or another addition to a game almost feels like, yeah, sounds great. You want to, here's $10-15 for another 5 hours of gameplay? Sure,
Yeah.
sounds great because I enjoyed this game.
This is,
Yeah,
this is 8 to 12
paying
hours.
$20 to make
Easy.
$20 to make it so I don't have to play a basketball game for 20 hours to make my player not suck. That feels like you're just extorting me.
Yeah.
So it's weird how that works.
In keeping with the segment, I guess it's tough because it's almost please do and please don't. I almost want them to charge for it.
I know.
I should be excited about the prospect of them doing it for free. That's awesome. But then I'm like, I almost want you to pay for it so that you can continue to do quality work and that those become the standard for what is paid, and the ones that Dave mentioned, or Horse Armor that started it all, or whatever,
Yep.
becomes less of the norm. But I don't think we're heading in that direction.
It's weird because it was a huge selling game, right? So there was no reason to make it free except, I guess, just studio philosophy of like, we care about our players and we're not just like bottom line, and we got this cool piece of content and we want them to be able to play it for free. We appreciate them for buying the game. And it's like,
And
okay,
I
that's
wish-
cool.
And I would love, it's never going to happen because like the general populace won't get there, but like in that event, I would love to support, like, if they want to release their next huge game that's really, really good and you have to pay $80 for it instead of $70 for it this time. Okay, hey, it's from this studio. I'll make that decision.
Yeah.
We're so ingrained with every new game has to cost this price that it would hurt sales to charge that extra $10. But like, if you're going to give me free content 6 months down the road, a year down the road, okay, yeah, sure, $10 more bucks sounds good. Let's do this because I know you're going to give me a good experience and more stuff down the road. I wish that the consumer would know that, but they won't.
The only downside is that runs into a trap where I would have paid even more money for Mass Effect Andromeda, for example. I would have been even more upset. But I think your overall point is still solid. And then that obviously hurts in the future because you weigh that against them. I get it. It's just that's one of those spots where I'd be like, yeah, like Mass Effect, that's a slam dunk. I'll pay $90 for. Oh, shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fair.
And there are a lot of studios who are doing that. I know Stellar Blade has released a lot of free content. Sometimes it's just like a costume, but sometimes like, here's a new level, here's a new game mode. It's like, it's pretty cool, and it's not just every studio being Ubisoft and trying to milk gamers for every cent that they can, or Take-Two, who is terrible, and also who I was reminded, not only are they fucking awful with all the microtransactions. I read an article about Grand Theft Auto will likely be $80. So yeah, that's to look forward to.
Go.
What did I just say?
Yeah, and we can think. Yeah, well, and I think to your point, that's a good example. There's probably gonna be an online mode, which is gonna be really good too. So it might justify it. But Take-Two was the first people with their 2K series to do one of the first to do $70 games in the first place.
But Sean, think of it this way. When GTA 7 doesn't come out for 25 years or 20 years, that's only $4 a year that you're paying for that game over the lifetime of the game.
That's true.
I mean, what's the big deal?
Now, it's weird because I hate 2K.
Gaming.
And I don't like that they are, of course, the ones that set the precedent. But like, it's this weird area where they probably should have, because game development costs keep going up, and relatively speaking, we are underpaying for all the games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but I'm not like volunteering to start paying more, so it's a sensitive.
But I mean,
subject.
We're all in the same boat of like games were $50. It was $49.99 for a long time. I mean, I can't even remember what honestly, what like the N64 games were brand new. Were they
priced
50? Were they priced at $49.99?
I believe so.
So did we go from like 1997 to like 2014-ish of where games were basically just the same price over and over again? Yeah, we probably should have kicked up in price $5 here and there every couple years during that run, at least when the generations changed. So I think you're right. Like, we probably are still way behind what they actually are worth.
Yeah, but then we run into this weird thing of like, how many people are going to pay $80 for a video game? And I don't know.
And it's almost a little bit of the journalism industry we were just talking about, where people have gotten so used to a product at a certain price, whether it's journalism for free or video games for $50. Changing that, because you've set that precedent so hard, now these companies have to go in and figure out another method for revenue, and it hurts the consumer in the end. When if we would have just scaled that up or not given away content for free on the internet in the late 90s, well, then maybe we'd have a better model now. But what can you do?
And I don't know a time in history where we've seen more games chasing the what's the phrase? They're chasing this moneymaker by emulating what's popular, and we've seen it with live service games a lot, and it completely killed Suicide Squad, and it completely killed it sounds like Concord, that new hero shooter that came out. Dave, you probably haven't heard of it because a lot of people haven't, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Nope, I have no idea what you're talking
so
about.
it's all these people being like, oh my God, rather than a game, let's just like make something that's going to make a lot of money, which sometimes you have to do now. You can't make, you're not as free to make a cool kind of niche game that's going to be really good and sell $5 and now you're bankrupt. But by doing this, you're also making a bunch of shit that no one cares about. So I don't know. My other please do, and no one's really going to care about this, but I think it's an interesting topic. I'll get there. Watch Alien Romulus. It's so good. It's so scary. And Cody, what's interesting to me...
It's going to piss you off if I went and watched Blink twice instead of going to Alien Romulus.
Blade?
Blink twice.
Oh, Blink twice. Oh, yeah. You like Channing Tatum, I feel like. So Romulus, Dave, is...
Roman.
A return to kind of like the roots of... Alien. Yeah, Jason, you're absolutely right. It's shitty. And apparently Concord has a bunch of story stuff that like we're never going to get to because no one's going to buy it. Same with Suicide Squad.
They also should have had characters that meant something. They had 8 years to develop them and they all look like fucking no effort was put into them. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No. So Romulus, it's a return to form. It kind of goes back to what made Alien and Aliens so good. And not all that weird shit with Covenant and Prometheus and
the horror aspect of it more so, right?
Yeah, definitely. I've had a lot of people. There is a tasteless CGI AI deep fake callback with an actor who died in the first one that I agree. Like maybe let's not go there, especially because it looked for a movie that looks so good. It looks completely fake and terrible. And you're like, fucking why? At least put it in like dark lighting so it's harder to tell. I don't like when they did it in the new Flash movie. I don't like that they did it now. But Cody, there's a shot where like the ship is like rising and it's like in like the stratosphere and it just like looks absolutely majestic and incredible. I'm like, there's no reason this sci-fi movie had to look this good, but it did. So that was really nice. What I saw a lot online though was And here's where it's finally going to get interesting. People think it was just a rehash of Aliens. And so it's like, so if you do something new, everybody gets mad with an established franchise. But if you kind of go back to what made it work originally, everybody gets mad.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so what the fuck are you supposed to do? Now, it's actually reviewed overall very well. I think that is your answer. People want to see what they sort of expect from this franchise that they like. But it was just infuriating watching, like, oh, it's just Alien all over again.
Well, isn't that what we've run into with concerts, like, or bands forever? When a band releases a cool first album, they lose, everyone loses their mind, says how cool it is, and then later on they release the second one, it's nothing like the first one, and all the fans are, why could it be like the first one? Or they release the same thing, the same type of music over and over. Oh, they just keep doing the same thing.
It's uninspired.
The new,
No, they can keep releasing the same shit. I'm
you
good.
can't win.
So, like, look, did they go? Were there a few too many quotes that they recycled from the other movies? Probably, but it's like an homage and it's a throwback, and I think the fans will think it's kind of fun.
See, just take your kids. They've never seen Alien before. It'll be
Yeah,
fine.
just
They'll
like
be
your
it's a
young
whole
children.
new experience.
Right.
Dave, it's a family movie. Go all watch
can't
Alien
imagine.
Romulus together.
Nothing could be better than having my son watch an alien pop out of some guy's stomach and wondering, like, why is that
Well,
happening?
did they do
And
that?
freak the
Did they
fuck
did
out.
they run it back and
They
copy
did.
the same bit? Did they do that?
They have to.
They did.
They had
They
to
did.
have, right?
They did, but you're like, in an Alien movie, if you never do the chest burst thing, I'm like a little disappointed, sort of. And
There is a little bit. Then it's not an alien movie at that point.
I love that the equivalent of that, by the way, in my brain, and Chris will probably understand this, is wrestling. Because you have to come out and do the same bits and do the same hits over and over again, and then people pop for the crowd and they're all excited. Oh, he said the thing. Oh, he did the move, whatever. So it's like you just sit there and you're like, come on, when's the fucking alien gonna burst out the chest? I just like the idea of someone going specifically for that scene.
Well,
Just to see that happen in 2024 technology.
So what they did was there was a lot of like unique twists on the Alien formula, which is, I'm like, that's exactly what you want from an Alien movie, is what you know to expect, what makes these things unique and interesting and scary, but like be creative with it and have fun with it. If you start breaking down like, oh, well, there was an android in the first one and that caused conflict and whatever, and you're like, man, you're getting to the point where you can break down any fucking story of any movie that comes out and I'll be like, oh, I've seen that before. And you're like, just don't go to the movies then. You must be a joy at parties. Like, God, people infuriate me so much. Seriously, Alien's great. Go watch it, support it. It's really awesome.
Go watch Blink twice also.
Okay.
It actually
I
was
haven't
good.
seen it, but I'll take your word for
It's
it.
good. It's not a kids movie, Dave. Don't
Don't
take
take your family.
Don't take your family to that one.
Actually, do a double
I
feature.
generally do some research prior to taking my kids to see movies.
Oh, you
No,
did?
no, I
I
think
thought you just followed us blindly.
Yeah, why wouldn't you just follow
That's
us?
the responsibility of the Motion Pictures Association of America
Yeah.
to tell you what your kid should see,
Yeah.
not your job as a parent.
Dave, double
You mean-
feature.
you mean
Blink
like-
twice and Alien Romulus.
Didn't you know that R is actually called really good?
Really
R.
good.
For kids.
Really,
really
great,
great.
for families.
Right.
Yeah, that's how when I went and saw Deadpool the night it came out, I saw like 7-year-olds, 8-years-olds, 9-years-olds in the movie theater. I'm like, guys, like, don't do
There
this.
actually were a lot of kids in our Alien showing, which
God.
not only is it pretty violent, not super gory, but there's violence. The ending is fucking scary. They cast Cody, the huge basketball player. I won't like spoil too much.
Boban?
No. Like
Taco Fall.
no. He's younger and he's gigantic, but like I think he has like some sort of like it's like elephantitis or something, like where like he looks like it's not natural, but he's huge. And good for him though. He's
Dave's
leveraged
Googling.
it.
Dave's Googling it.
Mhm.
He's been in this. He was in It Follows as a scary demon guy, and now he's in this
Oh.
movie. And I won't spoil as what, but it was great. Practical
You
effects.
kind of already spoiled
No,
it.
you think
There's a big scary basketball player, man,
have
and he's
no
scary
clue.
looking.
you have no. Just wait. You
Sure.
have no idea what you're in for, Cody.
I'm not in
You're
for
gonna
anything.
fucking watch it
'Cause I'm not
anyway.
gonna fucking watch it, so I'm not in for anything.
Jason will watch it or has watched it already, and he'll agree with me if he's still listening. So,
Dave will sneak out of the house when his kids are asleep.
Robert Bob Rozicki.
yeah, where he like
Razitsky?
dunks it and he like
No.
doesn't even have to like jump. He just like
Well, he's 7'7", first
Yeah,
of all.
that'll
which
do
is
it.
Just like, whoa.
Mm.
And he, unfortunately, like the way his body is shaped, it does kind of look like a poorly AI generated image.
Yeah. But again, credit for him because he's like, oh, I'm gonna be a movie
Yeah,
star
he's getting
now,
work.
and
It's
it's
great.
like, I wish I had
No, and they're not playing him for a freak. They're playing him as a role of, hey, you're this character.
Yeah.
Which it's an alien, but still it's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. So that's a really good movie. This is my very last one because I know we got to wrap up. This one Cody will care about kind of. My last.
What
Please
about
don't feel bad that the Acolyte was canceled. We got news that the Acolyte, the Star Wars show, was canceled. And that's fine because it was fucking trash. Everyone's like, oh, we can never do unique Star Wars stories anymore. It's like, well, no, they have to be like maybe somewhat good, like even a little bit good.
The better question, Sean, is why do you hate minorities and transgenders
Right.
and everything like that?
Right.
If you don't like the show, why do you hate
Which,
them?
trust me, a part of I don't like that I didn't like the show because now I'm aligning with all the people that said don't watch it because
No, you're not. You have an opinion on a show. I don't like that. I don't like that opinion.
Well,
that
no.
If you don't like something, yeah.
Well, listen to me. I wanted that to be the case, but the show did not let me because it was fucking bad and the writing was all over the place. It just was not well put together, and it was a huge budget for a pet project for someone who barely knows Star Wars.
Aren't the actual critical reviews not actually that bad? I thought they were in like the 70s or something like that.
They're not that good. Most of the critical reviews are not very good.
I thought it had like I thought it had like a positive rating overall. So you're telling me I should just not watch it? Not waste my time.
Well, and so one of the things you have to keep in mind is like I would be curious. I'm going to look this up right now. Rotten Tomatoes, the scale, and you can say it's
positive and negative. You can give a movie a 6 out of 10 that counts as a positive. So then you can have 100% like positive if every single person was like, I guess this was okay. That's how you have no negative reviews.
Right. But so that was the first part of that. But where I was going is what I've learned through it is TV is a little bit different. Yeah. TV tends to like scale differently. So a 78 on the Acolyte is what a movie would probably be in the 50s.
Really?
It scales like weirdly.
People don't put as low a score on individual episodes, and even if they do, a whole season might average out differently. Whereas a movie is either like hate or
weird.
love.
Oh, that is really
so
weird.
You shift things in the aggregate towards this like middle bell curve.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
So,
that's
like,
bizarre.
So you'll have like The Bear getting like only high 80s, and like, well, like I know it's actually like really. So if this is 78, you can bet it's. Anyways,
so don't watch it. Got it.
Don't. I mean, watch it if you want to.
Don't ever watch it.
But there's so many like plot holes and things they think are really interesting, and they're not. And even the structure, Cody, you can take literal episodes and swap them around and be like, oh, this story sort of still makes sense.
I mean, the plot holes, I feel like that's what we keep doing in almost every Star Wars show because we're like, well, we'll tell you next time on, and then next time on, and then next time on, to where it's like I've actually gotten exhausted watching Star Wars television, which is why I don't watch very much of it already, is because it never wants to actually conclude anything because it's trying to hook you and make you come watch over and over and over again. And also, then I have to wait 4 more years to find out the answers. I'm like, go fuck yourself.
Well, and then they featured Plagueis and Yoda in the last episode. Just cameos. So, stick around for season 2, although that's not happening anymore.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember in the other Star Wars show when we were going to find out why Yoda had a clone baby and then we still haven't answered it and it's been like 9 years?
Yeah, so that gets into
that
gets into the broader question. Let me just finish with Acolyte was really bad and I really didn't like it. And like the whole episode, Cody, they're not twins, okay? The main girls, they're not twins. They're the same person. Okay, so that's the big bombshell.
So
what does that
actor
mean?
Is not playing 2 characters; they're playing 1 character.
Yeah, in a sense, sort of. It's the same person split. Okay, what does that mean? What are the implications? Why does that matter? They don't say.
So
the big bombshell is like you're not twins; you're actually the same person. And then they leave it like the audience is just their jaws are gonna hit the floor. And you're like, well, the audience like we don't fucking care. What does that mean? What does that matter for us?
Also, that is like an appropriate. Everyone should be doing that. That's cool.
That's an appropriate end to a lackluster show, though.
Yeah.
Because now their legacy is they're not going to get to resolve it because you made the stupid mistake of putting something like that in a subsequent season that you didn't make it to.
Yeah. Now,
we get no answer.
Was it all terrible, Cody? Like, no. I mean, there were some great lightsaber battles. Manny Jacinto's character was fucking awesome. Problematic, sort of, but still pretty cool. There's a weird, loving your abuser allegory that they got to, though, because characters make choices on a dime and they don't make any sense and they're completely inconsistent with how they've acted before and nobody cares.
So they all have like Stockholm syndrome?
One of them does.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
the hero. Or there are
no heroes.
They'll kill people for, you won't understand why. it's really bad. So the broader question, Cody, I was going to say is right now, Star Wars TV is like ending. And I don't know if Lucas or Disney just has lost faith in it or
no,
what.
they've realized that they should just milk it back to movies.
Yeah.
That's why we're going to get a Mandalorian movie that's going to still answer no questions that we've had for, however many seasons. We're going to get a second season of Ahsoka, I'm assuming, but that's also going to then lead to
probably a
Filoni's
movie.
grand finale movie where he ties up Ahsoka and the Mandalorian and basically any show that was modern made in that time period of Star Wars is all going to be in one grand finale movie, which I'm like, cool, you're going to do 2 or 3 endings of shows in 2.5 hours after you do the Mandalorian movie.
If I told you, as of right now, we have one
Star
Wars
will
show.
wrap up Rebels too. It will effectively wrap up Rebels.
Yeah, but we have one Star Wars show like into the future. And that's it, because Skeleton Crew is coming out, and that's a limited series. Andor Season 2 is coming out. That's ending.
Well, it can't really go much further.
Well, right, yeah, and they always wanted it to end at Season 2. So like that,
they're doing
great.
it the right way.
Yeah, they are.
It's crazy they had a plan, Sean.
Yeah,
and it actually might be the best show they've had.
Yeah, and they almost went with like writing good stories first and foremost, and then worrying about everything else. But like Dave, the landscape of Star Wars TV is just like there's one show into like beyond 2025.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So
well, and that's not what Disney had planned. They had planned on churning this thing out forever, pretty much.
Yeah,
they'd plan on having just show after show after show to keep the franchise running, but then all of a sudden it lost what the charm is.
Yeah, to keep the subscriptions going, Disney Plus and all that, which I could also launch into, but we're over, so I won't. But I have a story about streaming that we'll just have to save for a future episode.
It is interesting, though, that it's essentially both the MCU and Star Wars underneath the Disney umbrella, and both of them are sort of collapsing under their own weight.
A little bit, Yep.
Cautionary tale, perhaps. What does it mean for the future? I don't know.
Yeah. So there's that. Next month, I am trying to sell, ladies and gentlemen. Well, not that the cast is.
This is the opposite of wrapping up the show.
I'm just saying. I'm previewing the future. I want to do a nostalgia month. Okay, every episode for September, we do something nostalgia themed.
Because back in Sean's day, television and movies were better.
Back in my day, Star Wars was good.
There wasn't all this DEI when I was a
so
kid.
woke.
No, I'm kidding.
Back when games cost $50, they were good.
So we want to do like games that we've replayed a lot. We want to take a look at years in gaming, console reviews. It's just going to be really fun, and we're going to spend the month doing that. Maybe trivia if we can figure out a way to do it. That I'm running, and Chris will finally get to play for once. So
that seems crazy.
We'll see. Or we won't do it at all, and we'll go in a totally different direction. But that is what this is behind the scenes. This is what we're talking about. This is what the executives are discussing over at
just
Gray
almost want to throw
Areas.
this out here really quickly. In case Dave does return in that next month in person, you're going to hinder any food-related shows by having to do. Your little
That's okay,
monthly
because
thing.
whatever food McDonald's is nostalgic for me.
It is nostalgic.
It reminds me of college.
Back in
when I
my
gained
day,
40
back in my day, a
pounds.
Big Mac was bigger and less money.
Yeah. So we'll find a way.
Big Mac was $1.99.
And in theory, if we're going to do that live again, then it would be on a Saturday. It would still be a numbered episode in the middle of the month. That would be weird.
Yeah,
but
get
it would be-
fucked, Cody.
No, you're right, but
But it would
Tell
still
Shawnee
look
stupid.
weird, because then when you go back in the archive, it's going to be like 2 nostalgia episodes and then McDonald's and then 2 nostalgia episodes.
Yeah.
But is the McDonald's episode going to be tainted by nostalgia?
honestly, there might not be a better food-related show to stick into the nostalgia period thing.
Yeah, that would
than
be
think
it.
so.
McDonald's, especially for poor Dave who worked there.
Well, yeah, but you also
Yeah.
when I got to, it was not just that, because that's true, but also like that's where I got to go as a kid.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
we were poor, so when you got to eat out, oh my god, we got to go McDonald's once this month. Oh my god, McDonald's!
And I worked at Sonic, which is not McDonald's, but it's fast food. So
I worked at a restaurant which made burgers, which wasn't McDonald's, but I made burgers.
Yeah, so that's nostalgia. So just if you're excited, continue to be excited. If you think it sounds awful, well,
Text
then
Sean.
sorry.
We'll put his phone number in the
Yeah,
explanation.
dox me and that.
Dox him? Perfect.
And
I
you
mean,
can tell him why
perfect.
it's a dumb
Love it.
idea.
The trick is that the end of the year is going to sneak up on you, because we have the 5 episodes in December that we're going to be recording a series for. We've mentioned it. We'll talk about it more as we get closer. If we blow out a month for nostalgia, we need to do a Suns preview show. That'll be in October, because that'll be the season preview before the season starts. So probably like second-ish week. There'll be another regular trivia show in there somewhere. We do them about every 3 months, so that's going to come up here. We already know the first couple episodes of 2025 are spoken for. So, we run into a situation where it's like all of a sudden, like, we got to talk about the election. That's going to come up here. Like, I'm not saying we can't do the nostalgia thing. I'm just saying, like, when you schedule this much out in advance, all of a sudden you run into the problem of, like, oh, shit, that's a story we would have talked about a lot on the show, and we can't do it because the next 5 episodes are...
It's so...
Well, it feels good to have things planned,
Yeah,
It
it's
feels
so
good to not
weird
have to worry
because
about
I
it.
feel like there was a period of time, like, I wouldn't say we struggled, but
reached.
there was a question of, like, oh, what are we going to talk about tonight? I don't know. And we're minutes before the show looking up articles. And now it's
we
like...
reached. And even on some of the headlines that we were doing regularly, it was like, well, this one, I guess, is interesting. And we got like 3 minutes out of it. And we're like, oh, whoops.
And in, I don't know, 20 more weeks, 16 more weeks, we'll have a finale of the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be like 20 episodes, some shit like that.
That's true. And then, and then December obviously takes us right into January, which is the game end of the year awards. So we're basically booked until like end of January.
Perfect.
Pretty
Love it.
cool.
Well, that's all coming up. We'll be back next Tuesday with a regularly scheduled episode. We will be also missing a week in November, I've realized, because we're not doing a show on election night.
Not gonna happen.
Maybe we record one in advance, but we won't be live. That's for goddamn
Chris,
sure.
live stream the War Room
Yeah,
for an episode.
live stream my frustration as I lose my job. The best part is election results come in starting at 8 p.m. So it's like the worst possible time. I guess you could say the best if we were going to live stream, but it won't be interesting. It's just going to be me typing furiously and like clicking around on a screen and my eyes darting about. So
Could be weird, like in an ASMR kind of way. Could be interesting.
as I call up Cody and yell at him to do things. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't
Cody,
want
update the county recorder race. Cody!
that. I don't want to do that.
Well, I have bad news.
No, I don't want to do a show while doing that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
I got to get paid to do one thing. I don't want to get paid while then getting yelled at while then doing this. And
Well-
Sean yell at me also. I don't know.
It would be funny, too, because it would be recorded, so then you could submit that to HR and just get me fired, and then the whole thing collapses.
I'll just send it to HR ahead of time. Like, hey, I'm going to get yelled at on this show. Just tune in.
I actually love that idea of Chris yelling at you and me being like, Cody, watch Alien Romulans. Cody,
Yes.
Cody, please.
3 months later, you're going to be still telling me to watch this fucking movie.
Cody, let's talk about Robert Downey Jr.
Or
Cody.
like,
No.
or like undermining me. Cody, don't listen to him.
Cody,
He doesn't
it
have your
matter.
best
The election
interests in
doesn't matter.
mind.
Cody, it's all fake anyways. What does it matter?
Yeah. Aren't the results rigged? Didn't you already have them before this moment? Why are you getting them now?
Yeah, I'm not really sure why, Chris, you're even having to work hard. You've got all the results.
That's
clearly.
true. I've
He knows
orchestrated.
that.
It's not just that I have them. I have orchestrated them.
You're the media.
Ooh. Yeah, you?
There's
What
a big
nice.
circular table that you all go to to
Yeah.
plot the end of the world.
Which,
And
of course, is why I allowed Trump to win in 2016.
Yeah.
And some people would say that's just to throw everyone off the scent, so it wasn't so obvious that I was rigging it, to which I'd say, you got me.
No, well, you did like a backdraft thing. Like you chose it because you knew that people would be interested. You'd sell more papers if Trump won. Backdraft.
Makes sense.
Fire movie?
I don't see a flaw in this logic.
That would have been a bad show for me to have been live on. It happened to Stephen Colbert, too, by the way. There was, whatever was live that night and expected different results
Oh, yeah.
led to some very disappointed and or really sad people.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really have a huge horse in the race. I didn't vote for Trump, and I wasn't super invested in it at that time. But I can tell you what, as of about 6:30 or 7 p.m. that night, people still thought she was going to win handily. And the next 3 hours, everything took a massive turn. Which would have, I guess it's kind of cool that some places have a live outlet where they can now look back on it, except they hate it. But what are you going to do? All right, that's the end of the episode. In between shows, you can find us at grayareas.live or youtube.com/@grayareaslive. We'll see you next time.